Thank you very much, Councillor Taoiseach. I'm glad to get this opportunity to raise a few issues that are preventing people from actually attaining planning permission to do the most basic thing in life, to build a home for themselves and to put a roof over their heads. And at a time when this government is struggling to house massive amounts of people who are on the social housing list and housing people from other countries who are fleeing wars and conflicts, it's ironic to see that this government is doing, and their agencies are doing its level best to prevent people from building their own house, which doesn't cost the government a cent. They actually contribute to the exchequer with the VAT and tax that he collects from them. Taoiseach, a short few weeks ago in this chamber, I asked you about the restrictions preventing people from getting planning permission who wish to exit onto the national and primary and secondary roads in Kerry, where they're coming out an existing exit. You agreed with me at that time that a blanket ban was not the correct way to administer restrictions, which were put in place back in 2012 by the Departments of Environment and Transport and signed by the relevant ministers, one of which was yourself, which forced councils to administer these restrictions on national roads with speeds of more than 60 kilometres an hour. We have more kilometres of national roads than most counties, 100 kilometres of national primary and 300 national secondary kilometres of road. And we have more than most counties and others who have motorways, and their former national roads are better regional, where these restrictions do not apply. We have no motorways in Kerry. The Ring of Kerry was actually built in the 1800s. And in the 2015 to 2020 County Development Plan, we had agreed with exemptions with TII for some of the secondary roads, but the TII objected to these in our new 2022 plan. Farmers' sons and daughters can't get planning if their exiting road is not in charge of local authorities. The second issue is that the planning regulators insisted that the new county development plan, more areas are to be designated to be under significant urban influence. These areas are expanded, which means that many applicants who have been born or lived in an area all their life can't get permission to build a home beside where they have lived all their lives. Where are these people to go now? Over the income threshold for social housing, can't afford houses on sites in towns like Killarney, Kinmare, Killorglin or Dingle. Where are they to go, Taoiseach? I'm asking you what you're going to do to help these people. And there's one other thing. He'll have to do something about anonymous objectors. They should be made identify themselves and pay a more realistic fee. And with the way cost of applications and building costs are gone, 20 euros is not enough. They should be charged from 500 to 2,500.
Thank you, Deputy.
And maybe that it make them cop on a bit.
Taoiseach, please.
Thanks very much, Deputy Healy-Rae, and thank you for raising the issue of housing today. And I do want to report some encouraging news on housing to the House. Just in the last few days, we received from the Central Statistics Office the housing commencement figures for April. So we now know that the number of new homes that started construction in April was 10% higher than April last year. And just since New Year's Day, more than 10,000 new houses and apartments started construction in Ireland, and I'm increasingly confident that we will be able to meet our target, if not exceed our target, of 30,000 new homes being built in Ireland this year. We also know from numbers that house prices are now falling, have been falling for the past 6 months in Dublin, which is encouraging, and we know that over 400 first-time buyers are now buying their first home every week. The highest we've seen since the Celtic Tiger period, and that's almost certainly an underestimate because it doesn't take account of the fact that many first-time buyers are actually couples, just counts a couple as one person. So really encouraging to see that progress, and happy to share that information with the House today. I was in Tipperary Deputy, on Friday and spent the day around the county and had a chance to speak to Open to Social Housing Development, but also had a chance to speak to members of the council and council staff and people working in the community information service there. And they said they're seeing a huge interest and a huge increase in people contacting them about the vacant home grant. And I think this is a very important and very useful innovation by government, giving people grants of between 50 and 70,000 to bring homes back into use. They might be homes in our towns and villages, they might be homes in rural areas, and I would really encourage people to look at that as an option. It doesn't always have to be a new build. Renovating and bringing back into use derelict and vacant buildings makes a lot of sense, and really want to encourage people to take up that grant. And we do offer help to buy as well for people who are building their own home. In terms of one-off housing, Deputy, as you know, it's always about getting the balance right. We want people to be able to build a house on their own land or their family's land if they have a genuine local need or reason to live in the area, but we need to balance that with environmental concerns. Increased commuting, for example, the higher cost of services if people are more sparsely spread out than if they're more densely populated. But there are thousands of permissions granted every year for one-off housing, and I believe the vast majority of planning permissions are granted. I can't remember the exact figures, but the vast majority are granted. Minister Donnell has particular responsibility for the planning area, and he may want to come back to you with some more information and more detail later on in the day or during the week. I'm not aware of the issue of anonymous objectors. I will look into that. I didn't think that was possible, Deputy, by the way, but I will double check, and if it is, we'll review it, because I would have thought anybody making an objection would have to give their name, but we'll double check on that.
Deputy Healy-Rae.
Well, Taoiseach, if you want to regard me and the people of Kerry with the answer that you're after giving me there now, because very little of what I asked you, you answered. You travel Tipperary and other places and other things, that goodies that you say you're carrying out around the country. But I'm talking about the Ring of Kerry. I'm talking about the national primary and national secondary routes, where people are totally denied even applying for planning permission to apply for it now. They just can't. And you agreed with me here the last time I raised this, that a complete ban was the wrong way to go. And you said you promised to do something about it, you talked to someone. You've talked to no one, or you don't want to do anything about it. The other issue that I raised was after expanding the areas under significant urban pressure, away out from towns like Killarney, Kinmare and Killorglin, and people can't get permission in these places to build a house for themselves, to put a roof over themselves. And you're standing here presiding over this. You signed that directive into law back in 2012 when you were either Minister for Transport or the Environment, one or the other. And you gave the powers to the GII to stop people of coming out existing entrances. This is what you are doing in Kerry. And most of Kerry, between the National Park and the national roads, and between and another road that didn't build at all yet, but there's 4 different routes. The bypass for Killarney, that's still in abeyance, and all those people in all that area can't apply for planning permission. And he'll do nothing about it. I've raised several times here inside Concordia. What does he come back with? That he was in Tipperary last Saturday and last Friday.
Please, now we have to move on.
Stay in Tipperary, stay up here, because he don't want to know nothing about Kerry anyway.
Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy. The different rules apply in different areas for different reasons, because we have different local authorities. There are also areas that are under special amenity area orders, and there are also areas that are under urban pressure. And I don't want to come back to you with an accurate response, Deputy, because there are different rules in different places for different reasons. But Minister Donnell is the Minister responsible for planning. I'll ask him to come back to you directly over the course of the week, and specifically on the issue of the use of existing entrances. I agree that there shouldn't be a blanket ban where there's an existing entrance. There's a difference between using an existing entrance and a new one. But I will come back to you on that, Deputy.
Thank you, Taoiseach.